Hello, and welcome to Emily's Literacy Corner. Today we will be discussing a strategy to aid multilingual learners' reading comprehension, which is critical for proficiency in reading and academic success. So, what is comprehension? Comprehension is not just reading words. It's a complex, multi-stage process that involves interacting with the text to gain meaning. It involves understanding and interpreting what was just read. It's an active, constructive process that requires the reader to build meaning from what they read. In order to comprehend a text, the reader must be able to decode words, know what those words mean, make connections between the words and what they already know, and reflect on what they just read. That is true comprehension, and that is the goal for reading. Comprehension can be difficult for multilingual learners. This can be due to an underdeveloped knowledge and vocabulary base. And for example, if you're reading a passage about the American Civil War, they may not have the background knowledge of the geography or key people or the concept of states' rights. So they're missing that key context that makes text understandable. Multilingual learners are developing their comprehension along with acquiring English. So it's incredibly important that we are activating and building background knowledge to support multilingual learners reading in English. We also want to provide a lot of opportunities for oral language development, as oral language and vocabulary are essential foundational skills to be able to comprehend text. Our multilingual learners benefit from targeted language-rich strategies that build their oral language development and vocabulary. As educators, we also need to keep in mind that just because a student is decoding well, it does not necessarily mean that they're comprehending the text. Teachers must consistently monitor for comprehension to ensure that the students are fully understanding the text. Now we will talk about what goes into effective comprehension instruction. When teaching comprehension, strategies cannot be assumed. They must be explicitly taught and practiced. You want to teach this strategy directly and systematically and explain the purpose of the strategy and the steps. You must model the processes that you teach and make your thinking shown. This will help students understand how to think about what they're reading. You can gradually release responsibilities to the students. The I do, we do, you do gradual release model will help students move from shared practice to independent practice and ensure that they have enough scaffolds along the way. And if you've moved on to the you do or we do portion and realize that the students are not understanding, don't be afraid to move back to the I do part and do more modeling to explicitly show the students what to do. Comprehension strategies apply across subject areas. So students can use these strategies in social studies as well as science. The more practice they have in multiple contexts, the more the skills will be reinforced. And finally, we want to ensure that students have several opportunities to explain their thinking. Now we are going to focus on one comprehension strategy, summarizing. I chose summarizing because it's a skill that helps students distinguish between essential information and irrelevant details. It allows students to focus on keywords, ideas, and phrases. Summarizing can help multilingual learners to focus on the main content and not get bogged down with less important words or phrases that may be unfamiliar or impede their comprehension. One scaffold that can help students to summarize is a graphic organizer. There are several kinds of graphic organizers, but I chose one that focuses on 6 key questions to get information about a text. Who or what the text is about, what happened in the text, where something occurred, when something occurred, why something happened, and how something happened. This is helpful for multilingual learners because it focuses on answering only one question per box, breaking down this complex task of summarization into smaller, more manageable steps. And it provides a clear path for students at all proficiency levels to complete the task without too much cognitive overload. So now I'm going to model how we would use this organizer with a short text about the Revolutionary War. So we are going to model using the graphic organizer after reading an excerpt from the book George versus George, The American Revolution as Seen from Both Sides by Rosalind Schonzer. The excerpt is on the slide, so I'm going to invite you to pause the video here so that you can read the excerpt. Now we are going to identify the essential information to create a strong summary. We're going to use the 6 questions on our graphic organizer to help us do this. So first, I need to find the who. Who is this passage about? Who are the main players in this text? So when reading, I see the British East India Company, Lord North, the Prime Minister, and the colonists. So I'm going to put those main players down in the who box. And right now, I don't even need to make a complete sentence. I'm just going to list those main players or those key actors in this text. Next, we are going to find what happened. So I'm going to look at the text and I see that Lord North made a proclamation saying the East India Company was the only one allowed to sell tea in America. But there's another thing that happened as well. You can see the colonists' reaction. They refused to buy the tea and they sent it back. So we're going to place both of those things in the what happened box. Next, we are going to do the when and the where, and they're on the same slide because those are pretty straightforward. The when can be found right at the beginning of the text. It says by 1773, so that's the year. That goes in the when box. The where is also directly from the text here. It says in America. So that is what we will put in the where box. Now for a crucial part, why did this happen? So remember, we had 2 things that happened in the what happened box. Lord North proclaimed that only the British East India Tea Company could sell tea in America, and the colonists refused to buy it. And the text gives us the reasons why each of those things happened. So the cause for Lord North making the proclamation was that the British East India Company was almost broke. And the reason that the text gives for the colonists refusing to buy the tea and sending it back was because they felt that it was taxation without representation. So we are going to place both those things in the why box. And now we have the 6th and final question. How? How did this happen? So the colonists protested this by letting the tea rot and sending it back to England. So that's what we are going to place in the how box. So here you can see we have completed all 6 of our question boxes and we've answered all of the questions that the graphic organizer is asking. So now we are going to use this information from our completed boxes to make a complete summary sentence. If I put all that information together, I may come up with a sentence like this. By 1773, to save the bankrupt British East India Company, Lord North proclaimed no one else could sell tea in America, but the colonists refused to buy the tea and sent it back to England to protest taxation without representation. This is a strong summary that covers all of the critical information in the passage. And if I have a student that wrote that sentence from that passage, I would know that they understood what that passage was about. Eventually, once the students really understand how to summarize, the goal is to not need the graphic organizer anymore. But initially, the graphic organizer is great for multilingual learners because it's a concrete visual of an abstract process. Once students have completed the organizer multiple times, the structure becomes internalized in their minds. This scaffold is also great for students at various proficiency levels. So for students at the beginning proficiency level, the graphic organizer allows them to use single words or short phrases to convey meaning. And for students at more proficient levels, they can write complete sentences in each box and practice their academic language before moving on to the complete summary sentence, or they could even write a summary paragraph. And over time, you can fade the scaffold. You might move from giving them the full template to maybe just writing the 6 question words on the board: who, what, when, where, how, and why, to kind of remind them what they need to be answering. And eventually, you may even be able to just ask them to write their summary using those 6 question words from memory. Here is the reference for the book that I took the excerpt from for the graphic organizer activity today. Thank you for watching. See you next time.